All right, everyone. Have the absolute privilege of welcoming Mike O'Brien to chat a little bit this week. He's an Emmy-nominated writer from SNL. Worked there, wrote there for the better part of a decade, I believe. Also served as a cast member and has appeared in a handful of movies. Now he's spending most of his time doing everything for NBC's AP Bio, which just had its third season launch on the Peacock Network. We will jump to that a little later, but also for those that don't know him, or a good chunk of you may not know, the reason we're going to kind of chat with him here is that Mike is a Michigan grad too, and if you follow him on Twitter, you're probably aware that he's a big Michigan sports fan. So we'll chat with him as well. So Mike, welcome. Thanks for coming and chatting, and let's have some fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Scott.
So the people that aren't aware, you went to Michigan. What years were you there? What was kind of just your experience like in Ann Arbor?
I was there from 1995 to 99, and so my experience was constant national championships.
Must be nice.
It's it was really fun. Of course, 97 for football and two hockey national championships while I was there, and living in West Quad with all the hockey dudes. So yeah, it was great. Yeah, I'm the Woodson era undergrad.
Yeah, that's probably a little better party talking point than I was a senior for Appalachian State. So I think you get a point there. So yeah, you've got football. You mentioned hockey. Were you a Yost regular, a season ticket guy there?
Yeah, all 4 years season tickets, and then I think I got at least a half season even the year after I graduated and was living in Chicago. And sometimes my parents would use the tickets, and sometimes I'd drive home for them. But the Yost games were my favorite live sports events to this day. And but yeah, I would get, I think, season football the first couple years, and then I lived on Hill Street, like a couple blocks from the stadium for sophomore through senior year, and so it became more important to us to park cars on our lawns than go to the games.
Hey,
And
entrepreneurial. I like that.
exactly, yeah, get $200 or something depending on the opponent, but yeah, hockey was the best. And it's funny, I can't get into it on TV, but those are my favorite memories of any live sporting event to this day were Yost hockey games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone that went to school at Ann Arbor kind of understands that, but I get weird looks from people who like it's come up before. I'm like, hey, if you can get tickets for one thing at Michigan, it's Yost. It's not Michigan Stadium. It's not Chrysler, and I don't think people get it until they go to a game, and then it's not really even disputed that much. So yeah, that's awesome to hear that I'm kind of not alone on that island. So you
Totally. And for how great an era of sports I was going there, Chrysler was a huge bummer, and we were a constant NIT team with tractor trailer and a lot of fun people and fun games, but it'd be like, half to two-thirds full. There was no student section. So the advancement both in the quality of play and what they've done with Chrysler is way better than when I was an undergrad. It was kind of a weird, depressing thing. The students were all mixed all over. There weren't a lot of people, and the teams weren't doing as well. My bragging only goes for football and hockey.
Well, there you go. Well, as I talked about with App State, I when I covered the team in college, it was the Tommy Amaker era, so I can absolutely
Yeah.
relate relate to you with that, but I've been following you on Twitter for we've kind of been Twitter buddies for a couple of years now. But I feel like the first introduction to your Michigan fandom to me was during some of Michigan's most recent runs in the Beeline era. So at least a little bit of loyalty that's finally gotten to pay off a little bit. How do you feel about the Juwan Howard era in its infancy so far?
I was such a Beeline fan that I was very hesitant about that, even though, Fab Five were a humongous deal to me when I was 16 or something. But Juwan won me over really quickly. There were just a couple moments even before they were doing well with wins that I can't remember right now, but where he was just, I don't know, there's weird little things that feel like what you would include in the movie about a guy who's winning over a fan base, and some of it is like how he danced with them after the Atlantis
Oh yeah,
win.
yeah, yep.
And he's making fun of himself doing his Fab Five dance, and he tweets about their birthdays a lot, and there's something about that kind of won me over, and you almost just have to shift from like a coach straight out of like the movie Hoosiers or something to a player's coach, and both are great models. They're just so different. But I'm really optimistic and kind of all in for Juwan, even though Beeline was one of my favorite coaches of any sport ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more in that front. So looking like maybe we're getting a basketball season. Obviously, everyone knows how football is playing out. How are you kind of handling the or kind of what's your fall fandom like usually? Are you able to get back for games? Are you kind of too busy with work related stuff? And what's your revised fall look like this 2020 with all the fun pandemic stuff going on?
Well, I guess I first should double check with you. Are we definitely not playing at all?
As of right now, it's not looking like it. Obviously, there's people in Schembechler hoping for an October or even a Thanksgiving start. I've early on in this, I kind of just assumed it was going to happen. So now, kind of for my sanity, I'm just assuming it's not and leaving myself an opportunity to be pleasantly surprised. But if it doesn't happen, sort of
Right.
how are you still getting your Michigan fix?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that is a huge bummer because that was a big part of the week every week, and I'd set it aside and ruin some dating relationships around this where I'm like, well, just so you know, and it's so weird out. I live in LA, so I'm like from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. on Saturdays. I kind of don't want to hang out, and also if it's a loss, then I don't want to hang out till Monday.
Yeah. I know how that goes.
It's yeah, that'll be a big hole in my fall. I'm so thankful that like we got some baseball and basketball now, professional, to feel like there's some live sports to watch. I'm in between seasons of work right now, and hopefully there'll be something in the future. But yeah, going through old movies and stuff, yeah, I realized how often the end of my evening is all about a sporting event that I had taped. And when it kind of came back like 3 weeks ago or whatever, maybe it's more like 2 months now, it was so great. But yeah, my White Sox and other things I follow are nothing compared to the Michigan football games. That's going to be a huge bummer. I didn't used to get back for them, but I mean, once every couple of years, but I would set aside everything and watch, even if I remember one time trying to watch in Toronto while I was shooting something up there. It was really hard. I had to go to some faraway sports bar, and they had like 100 TV screens, and one of them in the corner on mute had the game. And I was like, can I have this? Can I kick you guys out of this table? This is a big thing to me. I know you guys don't care. You just like hockey, but got it done.
I respect that. When I first moved down to Texas, it's a lot of Big 12 SEC stuff down here. So I've done my fair share of trying to negotiate and barter for Michigan to show off on TV. So that's a struggle for displaced Wolverines everywhere.
The main bar we watched in Chicago when I lived there, and there's a lot of Michigan alum, some of my old roommates and stuff were living there, and we would go to this bar that I hated. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a Michigan/Texas bar, and it was always like their game was going simultaneous, and they kind of had more people than us, and it just didn't feel like it was like a cooler choice than the Michigan bars to my old roommates. And I don't know, I think they saw the Michigan bars as like all 23-year-olds or something, but having Texas people just packed in there cheering super loud, and then on the way out like yelling at us about how we might have lost or something. I have horrible like triggering memories of that burnt orange color.
Yeah, the split bar thing is a big thing down here too, and it's like if you break up the probabilities of, okay, let's say it's 50-50, this side wins, that side wins, but then you have to multiply that by 2, like there's only a 25% chance that both sides are going to be like happy at the end of it, and if not, it's just like a bunch of drunk people on both sides, so you're basically got a 75% chance of disaster. So they might want to rethink that business model. But they get people watching football and drinking, so they're doing something right.
Right.
So back to your time in Ann Arbor. Did you kind of always know you wanted, like growing up, were you a Michigan fan, and did you kind of always know you wanted to go there?
Yeah, I was a big fan growing up, and applied early, and so I only applied there. I figured I'd apply early and then wait to hear yes or no, because I was kind of on the bubble for sure with my GPA and everything in high school. I think my high school counselor said that was not an option for me. But I got in with the early admission, and then so I didn't apply anywhere else. And I don't know where I would have if I had to, because I was kind of all in, but not sure that it would work out.
Good deal. And then so I've read somewhere you tried to write a humor column at the Daily for a couple of years. Is that going to be a problem between, like, I was a sports editor for the Daily. I know the Daily thing didn't work out for you. Is there like a resentment toward the Daily, or how'd that whole thing play out?
Well, there was, I mean, a kind of joking resentment, but I loved, it sounds like we overlapped because I feel like Appalachian State no, that's like 2007. But there was a great columnist who did the Friday, like, I don't know what you'd call it, but it was like a humor column the way he did it. And I can't think of his name right now, but for my first couple of years on the Fridays in 95 and 96 was a guy named Scott or something that was really funny. And it was like light turned on for me, and I was like, oh, I want to write columns. And so I would, intensely apply every semester for freshman and the beginning of sophomore year, and a lot of like sitting in the Daily waiting room, being like, I just wanted to follow up on that submission. And they were just busy, and I got blown off. So I started a self-made comedy newspaper called the Anti-Daily,
Nice.
which really didn't focus its time on being anti-Michigan Daily. It just was the name built out of the impetus of anger. And but it was it was trying to be the Onion or the Harvard Lampoon, which both were coming into Borders, and I would get them every time they came out and love those. And so just trying to be funny, a lot of like my roommates and stuff writing for it. And what I didn't realize at the time was the beginning of my career. But yeah, there was, it wasn't like animosity because it's like an elephant and an ant or something. But I remember we would hand them out on the quad. We got a little funding from the school, and so we would print, I forget, but maybe like 500 copies, maybe more. And then we'd hand them out, and once in a while someone would pass and be like, I work for the Daily, I'm pro Daily, and like smack them out of our hands or something. And it's like, oh, these aren't really actually trying to take down the newspaper that comes out once a day and has color and more than four, like ours was like an 11 by 17 piece of paper folded. That's what I'm saying, 4 pages worth. So, but it was super fun.
Well, if you want to describe arguably the least intimidating situation ever, it would probably be a Michigan Daily journalist coming up to someone at the Diag and being like, watch out, we'll beat you up. So,
right.
yeah,
The face-off between that and the comedy writer, undergrad comedy writer is yeah, it's not a heavyweight championship.
I think it turned out all right for you, and you kind of got to avoid the pitfalls of the journalism industry. So you're doing all right there. Did you know you kind of wanted to do something in the film comedy type genre going into school, or you just kind of went to college and kind of figured it out there?
I kind of figured it out there. I was going in as an engineering major because my dad's an engineer, and you don't know what to major in when you're 18. And I very quickly was like, I don't care or like any of this, and all I think about is that comedy newspaper and funny movies and stuff. So I shifted my major. Well, I got kicked out. I had 2 straight semesters under a 2.0, and they won't let you do that apparently. I had like a 1.7 and a 1.4, and I was out, and I got a letter at Christmas break sophomore year to my home in Blissfield saying I'm out of Michigan. And I had to go back and write a letter about how I wanted to get back in, and then I was on probation, and I met with this woman once a week who would, be like, what tests do you have this week and everything. And they were really helpful about letting me find a path back in. But one of the things was changing my major from engineering to film. And then I got pretty good grades because it was kind of fun to study and write papers late at night and stuff. So that was a smart switch, but a little bit of growing pains there.
Yeah, a very Merry Christmas at the O'Brien household that winter.
Yeah, because my dad used to always say, just get an engineering degree and then you can fall back on that, but you can go do comedy or whatever these other things you want to do are. And then his tone that holiday switched to get any degree if you can. Just try to get a degree. And I was like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, no, I'm a firm believer in that. I didn't want to. I tell people that want to go into journalism, A, I say don't, but B, I say major in something that you can fall back on, and that's what I did. The problem being the thing I did major in is history, which might be the only degree that's more worthless than a journalism degree. But it's the thought that counts. So you went to Chicago after school. Did the Second City thing? Is that right?
Yeah. A week after graduating from Michigan or something, I moved onto my sister's couch in Chicago, Wrigleyville, and started taking classes and did that improv scene there for 9 years, teaching and performing every night, having day jobs, and Second City by the last year.
And how does that go from point A to going to Chicago to how does that lead to heading out east and doing the Saturday Night Live thing?
Well, every summer or two, Lorne Michaels from SNL will come to Chicago and watch Second City and a showcase of performers sometimes at a place called Improv Olympic. Knock on wood that any of these places exist when we come back into regular life, because I think they're all on the ropes. They're not really places that can take 7 months of zero income, but he would come to those, and he did see me perform at one or both those places in 2004, and I flew out for an in-person audition at SNL on that like monologue stage, and I didn't get it in 2004, and then he came back in 2009, 5 years later. I mean, he'd been there in the middle of it, but in 2009 I also got flown out again, and that time, I was auditioning kind of as a performer, but they know in the back of their minds it's kind of for both. And what I ended up getting hired for was to be a writer from that audition in 2009.
Very cool. So yeah, you're one of the few cast members to kind of do writers to on screen. I think the last person to do it before you, I read somewhere, I think it was Jason Sudeikis. What's sort of what's that like, making that transition, and what side of the camera did you kind of have more fun on?
So yeah, the transition, I mean, so when I got out there, I'd been performing at the very end, 8 shows a week, in Chicago for Second City, plus a couple late night shows at IO and places. And I really considered myself to be a performing comedian, and then it dropped to 0. And so I would meet with Lauren at least once a season for my first couple of seasons and be like, can I audition to be in the cast as well or something? My dream is to perform on the show. And he was nice about it, but speaking of, there were a lot of people like Sudeikis and Sandberg and Bill Hader there that he was like, we got our quirky white dude demographic covered. And so then I kind of forgot about it and just went and was enjoying kind of writing. And after my 4th season, there was a big exodus, and he wanted to make a big incoming class that he knew he would whittle down pretty quickly, I think, too. But I got kind of hired seemingly randomly one summer, but the seed had been planted a couple of years before with a bunch of meetings where I talked a lot about that, and he had seen me perform a bunch. But it wasn't a new audition. I just got a phone call in the summer where he was like, you're in the cast now, and I want you to hit the ground running. And that's my lazy Lauren. And then, but I don't know which I enjoyed better. I mean, writing, but really the hybrid of writing a video piece and being in it was my favorite moments, and those are my favorite 10 pieces or whatever. Because only performing in the live cast for 1 year, it's not fun yet. I don't know how many seasons it takes to where you're really loose and fun on live TV, reading cue cards and all that, but it's more than one, certainly, because that was just all stressful. And but the videos were less stressful and really fun, and a more pure way of getting my voice on the show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was in preparation. I was watching some of that, and had some real laughs. Is there a specific favorite that you had, or thing that whether it's the thing you thought that was most funny, or the thing that you're like, holy shit, I got this on TV, or is there a favorite SNL moment you have?
I mean, there are a whole bunch, but just some of those videos and getting to do them with friends were really special and fun memories. The Jay-Z story was with my friends Matt and Oz, directing it. Oz still directs a lot of AP Bio and stuff, and Sudeikis was in that one. And my friend Tim Robinson and I wrote some that were really fun to write and put up, one called Grow a Guy, and a lot of those were really fun. And the week to week of the live sketch show was really fun too. The amount of stress around it is actually like leads to a lot of releasing with big laughs and ongoing jokes and things we still all text each other. So it's the trauma of the situation leads to a lot of funniness. So it's kind of the best and worst of times scenario.
Absolutely. So AP Bio is kind of your baby now. Season 3 just came out on the Peacock Network last week. How did it sort of come about, and what was the process like, kind of getting the show sort of resurrected and finding a new home for it and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so it came about by I wrote the pilot when I knew I was in my final year of SNL. In my 6th and 7th seasons, I kind of was slowly making a move to LA and doing less and less and just trying to do a couple videos of my own here and there when I was out of the week-to-week live cast. And so I wrote this as a thing to try to sell in LA. I actually wrote a couple pilots, but this was the first one I tried to sell. And yeah, I just got was able to get a pitch meeting to NBC, and they liked it. And so we shot a pilot, and each, without going into all the details, there's like 5 hurdles or whatever that they're like, okay, now you can write a pilot, and they pay you for that, and they read that, and they're doing that with a big number of people. And then out of those, they say, you 5 can shoot a pilot. And then out of those, they say, I think the year we did it was 2 of us could actually shoot a full season then. So you go through all these little roadblocks, and that was all really exciting and fun and very cool. And then, yeah, you start to get that the numbers on Thursday night are the live numbers, the night of numbers. All these meetings and phone calls are not that great. Young Sheldon on CBS was definitely popping off more with all the 65-year-olds that watch TV like live. Like if you're 5 minutes behind on your DVR, you're not in the number. You have to actually be like watching live in every commercial. And we had really good numbers on streaming and like Hulu and everything. So that's why we got canceled from NBC, but it was kind of a natural thing to be picked up by a streaming network because we've done better with that, which I think a high school show does better with younger people, even though it's really supposed to be a show about, and in my mind, for adults. But I think we have a pretty good following of people who are in high school, and they do not turn on a TV to the network live at 8:30 p.m. or whatever. So that it was kind of a natural shift that I was very happy with for us to go over to the new streaming network that NBC made called Peacock.
Yeah, very cool. So it's for people that don't watch it, I totally recommend doing it. It's hilarious. It's kind of a vehicle for Glenn Howerton, Dennis from Always Sunny. It's got Patton Oswalt in it, who you've seen in a bunch of things. Did you write the show with a person like Glenn in mind, or like what's the process? Like, are you envisioning, okay, this is who this teacher is going to be, or did you draw inspiration from anyone in particular for that role?
I think, to be honest, both Glenn's leading role and Patton, those characters were probably, I was writing with how I would improvise those characters. Those are both characters I would have played in an improv show in Chicago, not that I wanted to play them in the show, but that would be how I would think of the next line. And then the case where it was like actor first was with an actress named Paula Pell, who comes in the 2nd episode. And I had a whole writer's room by the time we were coming up with the 2nd episode, and we were making up this what becomes Patton's receptionist character named Helen. And we were like, maybe it's like Paula Pell, who is this SNL writer who we all love and have known for years. And that then we kind of wrote with her sense of humor in mind. So we did do it that way for that one. And by the way, we were just fingers crossed that we actually get Paula, because otherwise we're going to be asking some actress to basically be doing a Paula impression.
Yeah.
But we did get her, and she's great and a huge part of the show. But the other ones, it was written, a year or two before I knew that we would get people that are as good and perfect for the parts as Patton and Glenn. And then once you have them, then we start writing to their strengths too. Like Glenn is like an intensely good actor. He was trained at Juilliard and everything. And so to set him up for things that I would never have done in an improv show, like cry convincingly and things like that. Then you start as the seasons go on. I feel like that's why the show naturally also gets, in my opinion, a little better and better, is we as writers get used to these specific actors, and you're no longer writing to the general idea of a teacher who's like this and lines that I might improvise and all. You're like writing to what can Patton kill in this scene, and we get better and better at writing for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes sense. So how cool is it, or what's it like having so much say kind of in a project like this? Like, I'm not too familiar with Hollywood, but I'd imagine getting to be a creator / writer / producer / showrunner kind of gives you a lot of power and creative freedom. That's not really always the case. Is this kind of what an end goal was for you, or what you were working toward, and how cool is it kind of getting to have so much say in a network TV show?
It's 100% the end goal, and it's the coolest thing in the world to me. It's my dream job completely, and I hope I can keep doing some version of it forever. I love collaborating, and I get to. But then I also, at the end of the day, get to say the final thing. And people have commented that there's some showrunners that don't get into the nitty gritty, and I understand that too. Some of them are producing multiple shows at once or whatever. But I go into almost every detail. Look at the photos of the 5 options for every single character's outfit for every scene in email photos, and say, I think the red sweater plus this. Actually, with that one, I loop in a writer who has better costume clothing in general in real life than me. Decision, but that level of decision, every sound effect. Like, I think that door creak is a little bit too horror film. Do we have a little more normal door creak sound? And every level of everything, and it's a joy to me. It makes it so that you work pretty much around the clock when the season's going, but I'm just have a rush of endorphins and everything, because it is the dream job to get to have final say. And I've been lucky, both NBC and definitely Peacock are pretty deferential and are like, we encourage you to go more this way, but it's your show, it's kind of your ship to sail or sink, and I love that.
So I know you were kind of the driving force behind some Michigan Easter eggs that would show up on SNL every now and then. You'd occasionally see a Michigan football helmet showing up, or there would be a dig at Michigan State in some sort of skit. Can fellow Wolverines look forward to seeing you try to deftly sneak something in for Michigan fans in the future?
Well, for one thing, I got credited with a lot that was nothing to do with me. Oh. There was Karen and Vanessa had a K-pop Japanese talk show that was based in Michigan State University, and that I was never in the room when that was being written or anything. And I was like, on Twitter, people were like, I think this is Mike burning them and all that. There's a really subtle thing that was also a coincidence, but there's a video I made with Tim Robinson called Monster Pals, and it just happened to be
love Monster Pals.
Have you seen Bo in it, the photo? It's for 2 seconds, but the bar we were using was a regular after party SNL bar that I'm blanking on the name of right now. But I didn't think about that, but because of that relationship, that's who we were allowed to shoot with at 9 a.m. on some Friday morning. And they closed out the bar for us and we shot. But it was also a Michigan bar, technically. I'd only watched a couple games there maybe ever, but I forgot they had a big framed photo of Bo that my monster character walks by as he's heading out into the world. It's very subtle, but people were all like, then you hung that photo. And I was like, actually the photo was there. It's all kind of funny coincidences. At SNL, I did not have the control that we're talking about. I did joke to joke, but not like set design and everything that you do for AP Bio. But yeah, I go back and forth on it. Sometimes I'm like, should I put in my friend from high school's name here? And should I put in a Michigan reference there? And other times I've gotten, as I've gotten older, done a little bit less Easter eggs. And I'm just like, I'll just tweet a lot about how much I love Michigan. I don't need to make it a little sneaky thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you're the first, I mean, you don't have to deny that. Like, take credit for it. If it was me and everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're a genius. How'd you do this?" And like, yeah, sure, I'll take credit for something I didn't do. That's it. But yeah, no, that's good. I'll embed that Monster Pals in with this too, because I was just watching that the other day. That's good stuff. Yeah. So wrapping up, I really appreciate all the how generous you've been with your time. Any last words, any last suggestions as for season 3 of AP Bio, suggestions on how people consume it, share it, and any good stuff like that?
That I hope people go and check it out on Peacock, and you don't have to see the first 2 seasons if you're liking it. You should, because hopefully those are up your alley as well, but it's not a show. I'm intentionally trying to make it a show like the ones we grew up on, the sitcoms that aren't as serialized. They don't build one off the other story-wise. You can just pop in and watch season 3 and hopefully enjoy it. And it's the most experimental season. There's at least 3 episodes that are kind of what I'd call concept episodes, or they're playing with sitcom structure a little bit, as many sitcoms have done, but I'm really excited and proud about those. And so I hope people check them out. There's 8 episodes. There were going to be 10, but we got shut down by the pandemic before we shot 9 and 10. So it's a quick watch and hopefully really funny. And that's my plug for that. And I'm super optimistic and hopeful for some basketball.
Good
Juwan
deal.
And the boys back.
Yeah, you and me and about 10 million other alums, we're all in the same boat. So we'll keep our fingers crossed there, and hopefully everyone checks out the show, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for season 4 and beyond.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks for the interview and everything. It's good to finally talk in person, Scott.
All right. Yep. We'll stay in touch, and maybe we'll do this again when season 4 launches this time next year or something like that.
Yeah, that's what it would be. That's a deal.
All right. Sounds good, man. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, Scott.